guys, welcome to the art video this month. So as requested by you guys, we're going to be looking at how to paint a giraffe. That was the most popular animal that you chose. How to paint a giraffe in black and white, but you'll be able to apply the same principle to any animal or anything basically. So don't worry if giraffes are not your thing, then you know, we'll be looking at all sorts of animals. So the first thing you're going to need is your paints, obviously. So I am going to be using watercolours for this technique, but you can use acrylic paint if you want to. Just needs to be watered down, and you need primarily two colours, black and a white. That's pretty much what you need. When it comes to black and white, you can have like solid black and white, but you can have like a cool tone black and white, which has kind of got a little bit more blue in it, and you can have a warm tone black and white which has like a little bit of ochre in it. So you could, if you want to, you can add those in as well, and I'll show you those. But basically, you just need a black and white. You need your brushes, you need your water, and something to mix on or in. I've just got this like little plastic palette, so I'm going to use that for my mixing. I often use the lid of my watercolours. You know, you use whatever you want. Obviously, you need your paper to do it on, and your reference material. I personally love working from books, and I have a couple of books. I have this one. These were both bought secondhand. You know, scour charity shops and libraries. Libraries are off. Oh, I've dropped a break brush. Libraries are often selling off books and things. So check like those sort of places out. You don't necessarily have to buy them brand new. There's always loads kicking around. This one is the Kingfisher Animal Encyclopedia by David Burney, and I have two. I also have this one. This is the DK Animals, a Children's Encyclopedia, and you may think that like one is absolutely perfectly fine, but I don't find it. I find that they're both very different. They're the same but different, and they, you know, like some of them have animals in more of one animal than another, for example. So I do tend to use the both. So page 294, and I find them, they're really good reference materials for painting animals, particularly want them realistic. Let me see, 294, here we go. So we've got our lovely giraffe there. So we've got him as a reference. And let's see what this book offers on the giraffe aspect. Let's see. Giraffe 96. Oh, look at that. There we go. So yeah, you can see what I mean. Has it just got the one page? Yeah. So this one here has got a herd of giraffes. Did you say giraffe? Yeah, is it a herd? I assume. Can you see all that? It's a big book. It's a big book. So yeah, we've got a herd of giraffes, and I didn't know actually until the other day when I opened this and to look at giraffes. But the giraffes have different skin patterns depending on the type of giraffe they are. I know it's kind of like crude. But we're not going to get into that today. We're just going to be very kind of abstracty with our patterns. So this one is quite a good book because it's got various different stances. You know, some are sideways on with their heads twisting one way, some are face on, that kind of thing. So we've got a few to work with in this book, whereas in this one, you've literally just got the one. So that's what I'm kind of saying, like about the difference in the books, and how sometimes you need two books. But of course you also have the internet. The reason I have books is because when I'm painting, I don't always want to kind of keep opening my phone or whatever, and I'm not near my computer. So because I use these like all the time, I'm often drawing animals. I find these a really good resource. I literally only paid like £1 for them, so they were just really cheap. So I do like to have a book like open that I can reference. Obviously you can look on Google and you know, or Pinterest or something, and find a giraffe that kind of speaks to you, that you like the look of. To help you out, I have found a photo of a giraffe, and I will include this PDF for you. So I found a giraffe that was on a white background to make it a lot easier for you guys. We're not going to be doing backgrounds today, we're just going to be doing the giraffe. But I wanted to show you a comparison to kind of help you along your journey. So I've given it to you in colour, and I've also turned it to just black and white, just so that you can kind of use that for a little reference as you go along. And I'll come back to that in a minute. So I will be working off of this image to try and help you guys out, because obviously you'll have this same image, but I may refer to my book as well. So the first thing you need to do is to mix up some paint. So I've got my little palette. I need to retrieve that brush really. I'll use a big brush. So I'm going to grab some of my black, and I'll whack that in my palette there. Okay, so we've got a nice black. And I wanted to show you that we can make various different colours or shades of grey. It's maybe teaching your granny to suck eggs, but so we've got a palette of black, so that's going to be our darkest colour. And then I'm going to do another few palettes of just black. Like so. Clean your brush before you go into your white. I've already blobbed in my white, which is great. So I've already got a nice grey, and I want to mix. So I'm getting a grey there already. You want to wash your brush every time before you go back to your white. You don't want to make it contaminated. So we've got a nice grey tone coming along there. And I'm going to keep going, adding more and more white to each one. And then I'm going to swatch them for you guys so you can see. It's a massive brush. And yeah, it's exciting. Okay, so we're getting lighter. The more white we're adding, the lighter we're getting. Okay, so and obviously we've got, I should have done the other way around really, but hey ho. You could always start with white if you want to. And just keep going. It's fun. You want this to be a fun, enjoyable process, not a chore. I actually really enjoy mixing paints. It's kind of really therapeutic. It's kind of nice to kind of, it's kind of a good start to get your creative juices going. Okay, right, so there we go. We have 4 colours that are all the same but all different. They're all on the grey palette. So I'm just going to swatch them for you. So we've got our really light grey here. So, oh, I've got loads of gunk in my brush. What's going on? Yeah, okay, so we've got a light grey. My brush is so wet now. Let's get some of that water off. Okay, so we've got our light grey. And obviously the more, when you're painting with watercolour, when you start at the top and brush down, you're like, or you know, you'll get more saturation. The more you keep going with the brush, the paler your brush will be. So if you carry on painting, the paler it will get. Hopefully that makes sense for you guys. This is the next colour. And then the next one. then our black. So we've got a couple of different colour palettes there. So the reason I wanted to show you that is just to show you that by just mixing up your black and your white, you can get various different tones and shades. And that is exactly what we want to look for in our photo, is the tone and the shades. So if we go back to the photo here, which is now wet, well done Anna, hopefully you can see that it's not all one colour. It's not all the black, it's not all the light grey, it's various different colours. And that is exactly why I turned it black and white for you, so that you can see the various different shades in there. There's probably, to the human eye, there's probably only sort of like 3, 4, 5, but actually if you really look at it, there's probably a lot more shades in there than you actually realise, particularly if you start to put in like all the creases and shadows, like all the folds of skin, all the little hairs, all that kind of stuff. There's loads in there. But we're not going to worry too much about all the little details. It's kind of, we're going to try and do it fairly realistic, but also in like a fun kind of whimsical way. So if your final thing doesn't look 100% like a realistic giraffe, then don't worry, that's not the outcome. That's not the desired outcome that we're really going for. So when you're working from a coloured photo, like so, the black and white is there to help you as a reference. But if you're looking at a black and white, because obviously you could be doing anything, what you want to start looking at is what is the lightest colour and what is the darkest, and where are they. So whenever you see like the eyes, they're really dark, so that would be your black. The inner bit of the ear there, that would probably be your sort of a step lighter from the black. The bits in between the patches of skin, that would be your lightest shade. So you want to kind of look at it like that. Okay, what's my darkest, what's my lightest? And you always want to go from the lightest first, because you can keep adding. So if I go with my lightest colour that I've got now, so that's my lightest colour. I wouldn't be able to, I could take it away now while it's wet, but it would still leave a little bit of residue. But really you can't sort of take anything away from that, but you can add. So if I add the next darkest colour, it's going to get darker and darker. So you can keep adding, but you can't take away. So you always want to start with your the lightest possible shade that you can, and then build up from there. So let's get started. And let's choose a brush. My brushes are really wet because I've been doing some painting and they've been in the water, so they're quite wet. My watercolour paint is wet because obviously I've just been doing this little demonstration with you. So the first thing we're going to do, well I'm going to do, and it's up to you if you want to follow suit or not, is I'm going to start by roughly painting the outline of my giraffe. And you might not be able to see this massively clearly because I'm going to be using the lightest colour. So I'm just going to do the outline and fill it in as well. Just a very light wash, not too wet. I don't really want all my watercolour like running everywhere. I don't really want a wet in wet technique for this. But yeah, I just want to get like a bit of the rough kind of outline going of my giraffe. By the way, guys, this is the first time I have ever drawn or painted a giraffe. So it's a learning curve for me too. So what you want to do is you just want to literally follow the shapes that you see. So this ear. Don't worry about any detail, just look for the shapes. Follow the shapes that you see. There's these little numpies, what are they, horns? Does it say in my book? No, it doesn't actually. Like little horn things, I don't know. Here we go. Yeah, follow what you see. Take your time. It's not a rush job or anything. The ear comes out here somewhere, like that. Okay, right, that's the outline done. I'm just gonna like swish my paint all over. So we've got the base of the giraffe going on there. Its head's probably a bit bigger than I'd probably like. But there we go. Okay. Right, I'm just gonna wait for my watercolour just to dry off a little bit. I might just blast it a little bit actually. As I said, I don't want a wet in wet technique. I want a wet in wet technique, as you saw when I did up there. It just kind of goes everywhere. I don't want that. I want to be a bit more controlled here. Right then, whew, pressure's on. Pressure is on, guys. Pressure. Let's get a bit more of a grade going. Used up all my grey because that brush was just so big. It just soaks it all up. Okay, so next I want to work on a bit of a shadow here. Smaller brush. Just gonna push that down. Bearing in mind also when you're working with watercolour that watercolour does fade a little bit when it's dry. Okay, so yeah, I'm just going to go along now and I'm going to paint what I see. So I've got my lightest colour in. I've then gone a little bit darker for a little bit of a shadow to kind of differentiate the head from the neck. I'm now going to go in and do this little V type shape that we see. I'm going to start off up here because it's got like a little bit of a thing that comes down like that. I'm going to let it wick out a little bit actually. I'm not going to block that. I'm going to let that wick out a little bit so that it's so it kind of looks like it's part and parcel of the same thing, a bit more realistic. So that kind of goes out like that. Then it starts to come back in again. So it goes down his nose and then it goes back out again. Like that. Okay. Right, so Safari, did you get it? Safari, so goody. Gonna do his ears, a little bit more of his ears. It's got like this little bit in his ears like that. Okay. Go. Right. Now he's got some darker bits on the top there, which I didn't see at first. So I'm going to bring those down. This is a very relaxing process and you can just keep adding to it. I'm going to add a little bit of blacker up the top there and let that do its thing. He's quite dark at the top of these little horns there. Okay, and then the paint will only go where the water is still wet, so don't worry about that too much. And then I'm going to add a little bit more black and just darken up those ears in the middle a bit. I feel like that needs darkening up a bit. See, you can keep adding, but you can't take it away. So I can't stress that enough to you guys, okay? So take it easy on yourself. I feel like adding his eyes in now, so at least the sockety, he's like, do you know what, this is kind of coming across quite like how my my deers began actually. Very deer-like in his face. Put the eyes in there a bit. Darken them up in a bit. This nose, a few little dots. Dot there. Dot there. That do its thing. And I'm just going to blast this again because I don't want some of that to run. It's so much nicer when you can let your watercolour dry naturally and take your time and be patient with it. But when you're doing a video, it's not always that luxurious. So yeah, we've already got like the workings of our giraffe going on there. So let's work a bit more on some of these. I'm going to start adding a few kind of like lines back in where that kind of went a bit darker there. And I'll move some of that out. So yeah, I'm just going to put it in, probably put it in fast forward mode now, because you can see what I'm doing. I'm just literally layering up my colour, working out where the darkest bits are, where the lightest bits are, and then just layering and layering. Right, so this is nice and dry now. I hope. Yeah, it's nice and dry now. So I am going to do some of the finishing touches not in watercolour. I've got my Prismacolor pencils. Probably going to want the noir, the black. Maybe a couple of other colours. Maybe a grey. Don't know. I haven't put any other colours in this one, so yeah, maybe that will do. Warm grey. So I'm just going to do a little bit of shading with a pencil. I like adding shading with pencils and things because I find it kind of like I get more control, and I just like the way it looks, to be honest. A bit of a sharpen. There we go. So yeah, I just like the way it kind of looks with a little bit of pencil in it. Obviously it gives a totally different look, because the paper that I'm using is a grainy mixed media De La Rowney paper, so it does have that kind of, gives it more of a kind of like a textury kind of look, but I quite like that. So I just mainly putting the mane in, a bit more detail in that mane, because where it dried it kind of all became like one big thing with not really any sort of definition of any bristles or anything. So yeah, I'm just going to go back and put some of those in and just kind of add a bit of shading where I think I want it. This isn't totally intuitive, guys. This isn't anything in particular. It's just totally intuitive. And you don't have to do it if you don't want to do it. So I'll darken up some of my darker areas. All the brushes need sharpening. My brushes, all my pencils. So it's got, the one that we were using for reference, he kind of had loads of little small black, like little small dark marks on his face, and I thought, oh my gosh, I'm going to be there forever. So I kind of looked at the photo in the book, and they kind of had more all over shading, so I was like, yeah, that's good for me. Okay. Right, so it's mainly the eyes that I use the pencil for, and that, and also just to darken up some of the darker bits. And I like using the pencil or a pen for the eyes, because I like to kind of get that dark, and I don't like it to run either. So I'm just putting some lashes in there, because they do actually have, look at this photo, they do actually have quite some lashes. You have a lot of lashes going on. Okay, so I'm going to switch to a pen now. These pens are so good. I fairly recently discovered the Uni Pin Fine Line. They are waterproof pigment ink, and they are luscious. So yeah, just going to add the eyes, make the eyes nice and dark. You just have to watch though, because the Prismacolors are oily, an oil based pencil, and you can't always use many mediums over the top of those, but these you can. They seem to work really well on top, which is great. Okay, so go, looking better. Not bad for a first attempt. First attempt at a giraffe, guys. Live with you. It's all your fault. Quite enjoyed drawing my little giraffe, actually. Might have a go and kind of do it again, perfect it a little bit. Want to add a little bit of white in there for a little catch light. His eyes, just to give him a bit of life, a bit of sparkle in the eyes. Go. And you could also use a white paint pen, like if you wanted to add a bit of white, you know, highlight it a bit, you could kind of, you know, if there's any areas you want to highlight or anything, you could dapple it in. It's really good to do so. Like if there's any areas that you think, oh my gosh, they're just way too dark now, you could just dapple it in. Don't have to use your finger, just, you know. It's fun. There. Ta-da! Giraffe done. So I hope you like him. I'm quite pleased with him actually. He's looking pretty funky. Obviously that was just a plain black and white. If you wanted to make it more sepia, you would need to use your colours, and you could add your ochre in and make it a more of a warmer shade. If you wanted to do more sepia tones, so there's a brown there. If you want to add a bit more black to that, make it darker but warm toned. That's what you want to be doing. Of course, you can have blue to your grey and have a blue-grey tone if you like to. There's our blue-grey. Make it darker. Yeah, so you can like kind of experiment with your different black and whites and your sepia tones, your warm blacks, your warm greys, your cool greys, and then of course if you've got other pencils, you know, like you would want to maybe do, like if you're doing your warms colours, you may want to do some shading with like a brown. And you know, if you've got the cools, you could use a bit of purple, maybe a bit of shading in purple, or some blues. Yeah, so there we go, guys. I hope you enjoyed that, and I can't wait to see your giraffes. Really excited to see what you come up with your giraffes. Thanks for watching, guys. Bye.